friends, it's time for another Friday Fun Fact where I'll provide you with a little bit of information that you might not have known before. This week, we're celebrating Sir Isaac Newton's birthday, at least according to the Gregorian calendar, and learning about how he came to be so influential to science. Born on January 4th, 1643, Sir Isaac Newton didn't have a great childhood. He was born the son of a yeoman, which is a sort of middle-class farmer. However, his father died shortly after he was born, and his stepfather forcefully sent him to live with his grandmother for 9 years. Upon finally inheriting his estate, his mother discovered that he was absolute rubbish at being a farmer, so she did the right thing and sent him back to school. Not great for the cows, but his discoveries are still used today. When he arrived at Trinity College in Cambridge in 1661, the scientific revolution was in full swing, and many of the basic works of modern science had appeared already, like those of Copernicus, Kepler, and Galileo. Philosophers had also made a lot of advances, led by Descartes. However, the universities hadn't quite caught on yet, and were still teaching Aristotelianism, which still taught the geocentric model of things. Even though students still learned Aristotle's work, the new philosophy was in the air, and Newton began asking questions. He started writing a set of notes called Certain Philosophical Questions in 1664. Looking at these notes reveals that Newton was interested in both the idea of atomism, which is the idea that all things are made up of smaller things, and the magical Hermetic tradition, which explained natural phenomena in terms of alchemical and magical concepts. While these two traditions of natural philosophy are technically antithetical, the tension between them seemed to have influenced Newton's view of the world, and indeed led to a lot of scientific insights. But it wasn't just natural philosophy that he was thinking about. He had ventured into math, too. When plague closed the university in 1665, he was stuck at home for nearly 2 years, which he used to invent calculus. You know, like you do. In 1669, he had also discovered the binomial theorem, and wrote about them both in a paper called On Analysis by Infinite Series, which he later revised to On the Methods of Series and Fluxions. It was also at this time that he formulated many of the ideas that would become some of his most famous works, commonly called optics and the Principia. Optics put forth the idea that white light is made up of all of the other colors, and that they can be refracted at different angles to make a rainbow. It also put forward the idea that light is made up of individual particles. His Principia, on the other hand, put forth his 3 laws of motion, now called Newton's laws, which are as follows. First, that a body remains in its state of rest unless it is compelled to change that state by a force impressed on it. Second, that the change of motion, the change of velocity times the mass of the body, is proportional to the force impressed. And third, that to every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. The Principia also puts forward his universal theory of gravitation. But Sir Isaac Newton was not as rational as the science that he so adored. He had a number of psychotic breakdowns during his life, and was driven to acts of pettiness and even deception in the face of his multiple charges of, since disproved, plagiarism. His time as the head of the Royal Society of London was a tenuous one, and he led it as a tyrant, and was often domineering and condescending, even to people who helped him create his 2 great works. He spent the last years of his life bitterly fighting charges of plagiarism in relation to his treatise on calculus, unable to let go of his wrath. As often proves when looking into the lives of significant historical figures, Newton was a complex person. Even in the face of the massive additions he made to the scientific field, he had a lot of flaws. His charges of plagiarism and his wrathful response to them aren't often discussed, and were indeed too long and convoluted for me to add here. I suggest you read the Encyclopedia Britannica article for yourself if you'd like to know more. The search terms that I use are listed here, and if you'd like a wider view on this topic, check out these books. They're all available through the Mid-Hudson Library System. Like and subscribe for more Friday Fun Facts, and I'll see you next week.